Australians will vote in a referendum sometime in the next 3 years on whether to recognise Indigenous Australians in the Constitution. The federal government will appoint a panel made up of politicians, community leaders and Indigenous people by the end of the year. Tomorrow, the focus will switch to another of Labor's election commitments. The Treasurer is expected to reaffirm his plan to deliver a budget surplus by 2013, but he'll announce new spending cuts to do so. From Canberra, Susan McDonald reports.
Australia.
It began with the apology to the stolen generations. Almost 3 years on, the government's reconciliation mission is preparing to break new ground.
Now is the right time to take the next step and to recognise in the Australian Constitution the first peoples of our nation. Now's the right time to take that next step to build trust and respect.
The government will appoint an expert panel to help build voter support. It's their job to investigate the best way to amend the Constitution and report back by the end of next year. Then a referendum will be held sometime in the next 3 years, possibly at the next election.
Our government recognises that we need mutual respect if we're to close the gap.
The move is a Labor election promise, but it's also a policy shared by the Coalition, the Greens and Independents.
Support this widespread across the Parliament means we have a once-in-a-50-year opportunity for our country. I'm certain that if this referendum is not successful, there will not be another like it.
For a referendum to succeed, it needs a majority vote nationally, plus a majority of votes in a majority of states.
Referendums aren't easy. There have been 44 in Australia. Only 8 have been successful, but one of those which was successful was the 1967 referendum to recognise Indigenous Australians that had some 90% of Australians supporting it.
We the people of Australia.
One that failed was a previous attempt to acknowledge Indigenous Australians in the Constitution in 1999. It was rejected by nearly 60% of voters, but this time there's optimism in Indigenous circles.
The feeling I get from people from all walks of life, from country people, from people in the cities, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, the time is right now to do this, and I'm very confident that'll get up.
The wording of the change will be crucial to getting broad support, and some fear there's not enough time to build consensus.
That's a real challenge to try and get a real hearts and minds campaign going in such a short period of time.
It's the government's campaign to return the budget to surplus that'll dominate debate in the days ahead. The Treasurer is releasing the mid-year update tomorrow, and it's understood he'll reveal that $10 billion has been wiped off revenue, due in large part to the rising Australian dollar.
The government's finances are in good shape, the economy's strong, the budget's in good shape. But the soaring Aussie dollar is going to deliver a hit to government revenue.
So there'll be cuts to announce $3.4 billion in savings are expected.
The Prime Minister's made clear, I've made clear, we're determined to bring the budget back to surplus.
The government's vowing to deliver on its promise to be in the black by 2012-13, but it's understood the surplus will be smaller than last forecast. Susan McDonald, Lateline.